Hello, and thanks for checking out Hibernian American. I am Matt, the Hibernian American, giving my takes and thoughts on all things Hibernian Football Club. This will be coming at you each and every week as a blog as well as a podcast. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, please hit that subscribe button, leave me a rating and review. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please click that like button, hit subscribe so more people can find the channel. I'm going to be giving my thoughts and my takes on all matches and shortly after each match. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you ever have anything you'd like to share with me, you can follow me on Twitter at HibsClass, interact with my posts, and I'll get your thoughts live on the show as well. So here we go for the first time in episode 1. Am I happy? I sure am. Due to the COVID outbreak within the squad following the international break, it had been 26 days since the Hibees had last played a club match. The last match Hibernian played was Wednesday, October 27th, when they were beat pretty handily at home by Celtic 3-1. So, after 26 days without a competitive match, I, like I'm sure many of you also, was pretty nervous about taking on Sevco at Hampden in the League Cup semifinal. That said, this was a memorable one for the ages. Hibbs started the game on the front foot and always looked the more likely to break the ice, which is exactly what they did, but I'll get to that a little bit more later as we progress. Before I give my thoughts and break down the match, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a massive amount of praise to Jack Ross and the entire staff at the club for the work that they put in during the lockdown time. Hibs players looked in top condition, fit, sharp with their skills, and showed no signs of rust that a 26-day layoff might lead to. So, when the team news came out, this was the 11 that Jack Ross had selected for this match. Macy and net, it was a 3-5-2 with McGinn, Porteous, and Hanlon in the back. The midfield five of Cadden, Doyle Hayes, Campbell, Newell, and Josh Doig, and Boyle and Nisbet up top. On the bench were Stevenson, who came in the 59th, Deutsch, who came in the 80th, McGregor in the 80th as well, and the unused substitutes were Scott, Gullen, Gojic, Wright, Allen, and Dabrowski. So here are my thoughts on the match. I thought Rangers started off with plenty of the ball, and they did start off with the ball, which they put down their right flank, calling Paul Hanlon into an early challenge, who picked up a yellow card in the game's first minute. 2 minutes later, Joe Newell picked up a yellow card, and I thought, here we go, the rust is showing. I was thinking maybe we should have worn the yellow tops as the rust was on full display and we were picking up yellows at a rapid pace and thought there's no way we were going to finish this one with 11 men. But after those first 5 or so minutes, the press from Hibbs was on full display. We were winning the ball back in good areas and advancing it into even better spots. Martin Boyle began his man of the match claim in the 9th minute, finding the back of the net off a Newell corner, which was helped on by Porto. The finish itself was one thing, which he slammed into the roof of the net. But the set piece in my opinion, that has not been talked about enough was the beautiful in-swinging corner off the foot of Joe Newell. This was the top corner. Porto made a good run and made just enough contact to help it onto Boiler, who was there to smash it home in the right spot at the right time. After a furious pace of end-to-end action, 12 minutes later, the Hibees and Martin Boyle were back in action as Kevin Nisbet played Boyle down the right edge of the box, and Boiler went across goal with a cool, calm, and composed finish. Hampton was roaring, and the Hibees were flying high. Hibbs kept the pressure on and were all over Rangers when they had possession. Although Rangers had the lion's share of possession throughout the match with 71%, they very rarely threatened the Macy goal, mustering only 9 shots on the game, and only 4 of those were actually on target. The brilliance of Martin Boyle continued in the 38th minute as he used his body very well and was very clever to invite the contact and hit the deck inside the Sefco penalty area. Boiler stepped into the spot and ripped it home, completing his first half hat trick. Unfortunately, being up 3 goals was short-lived as Scott Arfield found the back of the net for the Rangers in the 40th minute following a defensive gaffe from Porto, and the match headed into the break 3-1 Hibernian. If you are watching this on YouTube, please take a quick second and click the like button on this video. It really helps me again get more listeners to find the channel, find the shows, and interact with more fans. And that's why I'm doing this, to interact with you, the fans. Welcome back to Hibernian American. As I mentioned, we headed into the break 3-1 Hibernian, and that common feeling that I was getting while reading Twitter at the break was the worry, and I put the worry in air quotes, amongst Hibernian supporters that Hibs would just sit back and soak up the pressure. While I felt we did play a bit more conservative in the second half, the press was still on for the Hibees, and we still remained a constant threat on the counter. This was a gritty and hard fought team performance, capped off by a few stellar individual performances, in my opinion. Of course, starting with Boiler and his 3 goals, the undoubted man of the match. But the true unsung heroes of this one, in my opinion, start with the midfield duo of Jake Doyle Hayes and Josh Campbell. Campbell might have been the biggest surprise on the starting 11, at least for me when I read the team news. The 21-year-old was all over the place, covering box to box in the midfield, linking up with the attacking players, and steering clear of mistakes. His counterpart, Jake Doyle Hayes, was a physical presence throughout the match and did a lot of the dirty work that doesn't necessarily show up in the stat sheet. I thought he played a great holding role this match, and it was a big game for him to step into. I was particularly impressed with Campbell and felt that he provided what Hibs have been missing since Kyle McGuinness has been out with an injury. I've attributed the previous slide in form with the absence of a true central midfielder since McGuinness has been out. And I really think Campbell can push McGuinness for minutes and keep the pressure on McGuinness to get healthy and to keep his spot in the starting side. The next pairing of players who put in quite the workmanlike shifts were Paul Hanlon and Ryan Porteous. Hanlon, who picked up that yellow card in the first minute, set the tone for the physicality. Needless to say, this was going to be a battle, and he wasn't giving up anything cheap or anything easy early on. And he played 89 plus minutes while on the yellow card. Also, this was a very mature performance from Ryan Porteous, with the added intensity of it being a cup semifinal, the fast pace and physicality of this match. I was always waiting for that one, trademark Porto bonehead move where he goes in with a rash challenge or whatever. But to his credit, it never came. So Hibs take that one 3-1 in advance to see Celtic in late December for the cup final, which it is not a 50-50 share of the ground. That's a whole nother story, probably for a whole nother episode. But up next, Hibernian travel to the Global Energy Stadium on Wednesday, November 24th to take on Ross County in a match rescheduled from the recent COVID outbreak. County have one win in their last 5 with a 5-0 thumping of Dundee, but lost on their last time out 4-2 to Rangers. With the quick turnaround, this should be interesting to see who plays and who gets a rest. But hopefully, Hibernian can ride that Hampden high and start stringing together some league wins. In conclusion, heading into this one, expectations were admittedly pretty low, just given the long layoff between matches. That might have been exactly what Hibs needed heading into this one. Expectations were low, but the focus was off the recent bad run of form in the league, and the boys just went out and played. Again, big kudos to Jack Ross and the club staff for keeping the boys sharp and executing a great tactical plan. I hope this can turn the corner and see the Hibs start firing on all comps. If you enjoyed listening or watching this, please click that subscribe button on whichever podcast platform you listen to or on YouTube. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Also, if you want to interact with me more, follow me on Twitter at HibsClass. I had a blast writing the blog, recording the YouTube and the podcast, and look forward to giving my thoughts after the county match. Thanks again for reading. I'll see you next time. Glory, glory to the Hibees.